The 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has condemned any acts of violence or illegality committed by the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB or any other agitator, but insists that such issues must be addressed through dialogue and not force. Speaking during an interview on Monday, Obi, when confronted with the fact that people call him weak, saying he has not been hard on IPOB, stressed that his position has been to pursue a national unity through peaceful means.
Well, there was a president in Nigeria called Goodluck Ebele Azikiwe Jonathan Gage. People saw him as being too soft. People saw him as being lackluster. But at the end of the day, a lot of those people are also saying that he had a smooth way of dealing with issues. And the difference is very clear from the days of Buhari up until now. If Peter Obi does not have to speak the way Anali Dume is speaking, or the way Senator, the man from Kogi, what's his name now? Dino Melaye would be speaking, and many others, but he speaks, logically on issues. Not too long ago, that was the month of March, in an occasion where President Obasanjo was available, he did say that democracy, had been swept under. And I know that he got, very serious response from the presidency. I've listened to Peter Obi a lot of times talking about the issue of violence everywhere. He even visits those places. I recall that early in March, after one of those attacks in Benue, he was coming from Jos, where there had been an attack in Bokos as well. And the governor of Benue, yes, Father Alia, stopped him from coming to Benue on account of, coming to see the people who were victims of, the attacks. And it wasn't the first time he was going there anyway. There had been floods that I saw him in a boat, and people said he was risking his life in the same Benue. He had visited the, captured people's camps, the IDP camps in Benue as well. So I think he has been hard on this, but maybe his soft manner of approaching those issues is not appealing to his critics. Nevertheless, how do you approach the issue of IPOB? The approaches have been done in several other ways by several other people. Has it ever gotten the result? No. Today, as we speak, Simon Ekpa is facing the courts in Finland. And guess what he said? Was it day before yesterday or yesterday? That he wasn't generating any terrorism acts in Nigeria, but of course he was just a content creator. Can you imagine that?
How?
All right. Nnamdi Kanu himself, who is in incarceration right now, has even from incarceration spoken to his peers in the southeast that he does not want violence. All right. So how do we attack that? If a man cannot be soft in approaching such issues, even the military today has said that kinetic approaches to solving the terrorism cases in Nigeria may not just work. And so they've gone to the point of the DSS DG telling Nigerians to defend themselves. The same way a Theophilus Danjuma had said it. The same way I would have said it also, and I think I have, in my little corner. So I think Nigerians like the sensationals.
Now, I think that those who are pushing Peter Obi want to set him up. They want him to say, IPOB is a terrorist group. They are killing people. That's what they want him to say. They just want him to say that. But Obi, being someone who is on ground, knows that some of these elements are just using the IPOB name for their personal gain, right? Because even some of the people that are getting kidnapped or killed are still proud sons of Igbo land. Obi knows that. So you don't expect him to come out and use the kind of words that the government or certain people are expecting him to use. He's saying, I have my own approach. I may not like what some of them are doing. I condemn it in my own way. But of course, you don't expect me to say it in your own way. You don't tell me how to talk. Basically, like I said, they just want to set him up.
Well, I hope Nigerians should also know that the issue of banditry, terrorism, kidnappings in Nigeria is no longer what the architects of these heinous acts, planned to do. It is not just that anymore. That people have capitalized on the fact that it has gained ground in several ways to also see it as a business. And so whereas let's say in Benue, people have been attacked now. A lot of people would think that is the Fulani. But it has been discovered that individuals from these same localities,
criminal elements
they have hijacked it. They are also kidnapping. You can imagine where people kidnapping in some places now.
Bonnie, in Anambra during the elections, the last election, those who had personal vendetta with people sent boys to go and kill their opponents, and people were pinning it on Ipob.
No, the member of the House of Assembly in Anambra who was kidnapped, and then the body was found on the second Niger bridge. I think that was in February, months after he had been taken away. Was that done by any tribe, any race, anywhere? It was done by individuals, and they took their time. In Benue, where I come from, where I'm just returning from after the burial of my mother, a whole lot has been happening. You can imagine people, kidnapping for a ransom of 200,000 naira.
Can you imagine?
That tells you how, in my own terms, what I call copycatism. My word, I always say it has festered to the point that little brats who just want to go and have alcohol will now go and pick someone, collect that little money, release the person, and they go and have fun.
And once the person disappears, people will say it's herdsmen.
And then at the highest level, where you have the mega ones who are dealing in millions of dollars, exchanging guns for money, and then mobilizing these young men to different parts of the country. That's the reason I did say earlier that the military said we cannot deal with this on kinetic basis only. But where is the level of intelligence also?
Yeah. Look at late Dora Koyile's husband. That man's dead, pay me till tomorrow. Those who know his story said in his hospital, this one used to treat, once you're a reverend father and you come to Akoyile's hospital, you're getting free medical care. He will not charge you. And he's nice to people, even in his community. Look at how Dr. Koyile was murdered in cold blood. So if you look at some of this, you can see that there are certain elements who do not have any connection with IPOB, who will come to make it look like, oh, they are the one killing people. Because Akoyile's husband is known to people in that community. Nobody in that community will have killed Akoyile's husband. It's definitely somebody from outside. So how do you even justify this?
Well, let's not forget, just since you have mentioned him, that years ago, the wife, Professor Dora Koyile, was also attacked in her home state of Anambra. And to think that I started a station called Solid FM.
Those ones not drug baron.
Yes, but they didn't come from Congo.
Yeah, I get it.
I know what I'm trying to say. We're talking about criminal elements.
Okay.
All right? They have the Silas and I think Mary Foundation, which is a philanthropic medical setup that deals with issues for the poor, and they give them food and medications, all that. I worked with them for close to a year, and I know how philanthropic they were. But that is the level of criminality in the country today. So let's go on a break. When we come back, there are still some issues around terrorism that we'll talk about on the show. It's People and Politics on Magic 102.9 FM.